If you know your ideal customer, you will also know what marketing message will work, and you will also know where you find them. So it makes life a whole lot easier if you know going into your business who your ideal customer is going to be. And that would have really, I can tell you that in the beginning, it slowed me so much that I would be in a whole different league if I knew what I'm telling you when I started.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I am so excited to bring you our special guest today, Ajay Prasad. But before I introduce you to him, I have a little bit of trivia for you. Jay Weatherall said, "You don't get unity by ignoring the questions that have to be faced." The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions, so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Ajay, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
Of course. I'm excited.
Thank you for coming on the show, Ajay. Ajay Prasad is a serial entrepreneur, successful business strategist, and an adept marketing expert who, before laying the foundations of his various successful entrepreneurial ventures, served organizations ranked among the top 10 of Fortune 500 companies. His area of expertise include marketing management, business development, consumer research, market analysis, and strategic planning within industries such as consumer electronics, GPS-based navigation systems, enterprise software, and consumer marketing. The founder and president of GMR Web Team, a leading Orange County digital marketing agency dedicated to helping businesses maximize revenue from the internet. Ajay also owns and operates GMR Transcription, a 7-figure web-based business and award-winning transcription and translation company, which he founded in 2004 to fill a void in affordable and accurate transcription and translation services for writers, students, professors, and businesses. In the short span of a decade, the company has expanded its reach to include government institutions and non-profit organisations and has become a trusted partner to more than 9,000 clients across the globe. Ajay, can you provide us with some more insights into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Sure. I can tell you I am a dad. I have 2 sons. I'm a husband, and I'm an entrepreneur, business owner of a couple of businesses in the same sequence. So that tells you something about me. I have been in corporate America before I started my own business, and I was kind of, you can say, I really consider I'm not just being modest. I was lucky to move up very quickly in the corporate world. So I've been there for 17 years in corporations, good-sized companies, anywhere from Fortune 5 companies to at least $1 billion in sales. And most of the time I was in senior management. I was just one of those lucky ones to get the right mentor, moved up. So I was very familiar with what it takes to run a large corporation. And when I started my entrepreneurship, it was a very interesting experience, to say the least. It just requires a very different skill set. So I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years now, and I'm glad that I took this path. This is the best thing that I've ever done.
And how do you make money from what you do now?
So I have a couple of companies. I own a digital marketing agency where I help really many entrepreneurs, startup companies, as well as, my biggest client is $300 million in sales. And I help them with all the pieces of digital marketing. So even though my experience is in marketing of all kind, and I've been head of marketing for quite some time in major corporations, but now I only handle the digital aspect of anything that has to do with internet. So right from designing the website to in all sort of marketing, paid advertising, search engine marketing, the whole strategy. I think of it as we are a digital marketing department of my client. So we handle everything. And I also own another business which I started with a very good intentions, and tells you that sometimes good intentions pay off. It is a transcription business called GMR Transcription. I really started it just so that I could test, all my marketing processes first on my own business rather than sell it to the client, charge them money, and try it, because I wanted to only do things for them that I know works. So I created this business for that purpose, and it has sort of taken off. It's not like $1 billion company, but it has been doing 7 figures in revenue for last 6 years now. So I run that, but I'm not. I have a team that manages that business, and I'm just involved at, you can say, just a strategic level. That's it.
And what do you enjoy most about what you do?
I really love the fact that I'm helping the companies, the entrepreneurs. Even you will be surprised. Someone who has reached $300 million in sales is still entrepreneur at heart. At least my client is. So I know that I can help them. I fill in a gap that's a gaping hole there that I go and fill it up. So I absolutely love helping entrepreneurs increase revenue from the internet. It's a very new thing for most of the businesses. How do you get revenue from internet? How do you get customers from internet? So that's what I do, and all my effort goes straight to helps increase the bottom line and the top line of the company. So I just love it. I can measure what I'm doing. I can see how effective I am for which client. So it just keeps me on my toes, but I just absolutely enjoy it.
And what is it that drives you, AJ?
I really enjoy the challenge of digital marketing, and what drives me is every day it is a moving target. So the changes happen at a very the pace of changes is much faster than almost any other business that I've been involved with in the past. And you already know that I've been in traditional marketing most of my career. So that's the thing that is most exciting for me, is like every day there could be a new thing, which means you have to make all the adjustment. I get bored very quickly. So that's why I've always said that any, accounting, I desperately need accounting, right, to run my company, but I couldn't be an accountant because it's the same rules, it's just details and everything, and I get bored. So I love the pace of this digital marketing, especially the way it is changing. Is every day something that is working today may not be working tomorrow, and you have to be on your toes all the time to see what happened and try new things and bring it back on track if something that was successful yesterday is not today. So that's it. I love this challenge. There's no boring. You don't have a minute where you don't know what to do.
And how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
A bunch of things. I like to read, and both business books and fiction. So that is one way for me to relax. I also like spending time with my wife now. My kids are grown up and gone. So we go to movies, we will watch TV together. That is another way of relaxing. And then the third, which I would say like really, really relax, is I love traveling. So I do, when I want to take a break, we have a tendency to, both my wife luckily also likes to travel. So we have, when we want really a break, then we tend to be flying to another country rather than, just take some time off. So I like traveling also.
And do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
Oh yeah, and again, when it comes to entrepreneurial role model, you have to realize that there's a piece of entrepreneurs or my role models that I like. So I wouldn't say that there is someone that I'll say I want to be exactly like that, because I'm my own person. But I would tell you that I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs, and I'm just totally amazed at his ability to understand what people want. I mean, I'm the one who do a lot of research and do A/B testing and all that for my customers, because I'm kind of grounded in research, coming from large corporations. But he never even believed in research, and he had this unique, I think, the God-given vision, so he could see what people like. So that's the piece about Steve Jobs that just amazes me. I like the business focus, for example, of Bill Gates, and I'm a very, like I said, I'm avid reader, and one of the things I like to read is the biographies, also, because I'm always trying to pick something, learn something from these successful people. And Bill Gates, in terms of some of the things that he did, is what I suggest to my client. Like when Steve Jobs was like perfection, right? That he would not launch a product until he thought was perfect. Now, one of my philosophy is that perfection is a journey. There's no destination of perfection, that you can always improve. Now, Bill Gates was the other extreme, which I tend to suggest to my small clients that is the model that you want to take. And Bill Gates' model was, once the product is good enough, take it into the market, get the feedback from customers, and then and make adjustment, and all of a sudden you have from a very average to a very good product. And I'm sure that that there were many times when Bill Gates will go and do a presentation of a new product, and it will crash during the presentation. So again, entirely different philosophies, but they have a role to play. Steve Jobs, I don't even think that I can do what he did, but I just, that's the reason I really enjoy it, and the philosophies. So I can go on and on and on. I mean, Richard Branson is, again, I look at what he has done, and I'm just always amazed at his insight and the risk taking. I mean, I was reading his biography. Actually, I was in London, 4 or 5 years back, and I was into a bookstore and I saw his biography there. So I purchased it, and forget about what he did for business. A lot of people have done it. But what he has done, like when he went on balloon ride and he wanted to go all over the world, and the risk that he took and almost died is just mind-boggling. I mean, see, when you look at these people, you say, okay, this guy is a really big risk taker, and that reflects in his business also. I mean, one of the things that I read about Richard Branson that I wish I could do is, in one of those hurricanes, on the island that he owned, he just evacuated, sent everyone there, but he wanted to stay there to see what happens. And he decided to be in a pool because he thought that would be more, most safe place. It's just that's so there are some things about entrepreneurs that I always like, and then I always tell the people who come to me, either as a startup or a small business who comes for my advice. And I always tell them that, listen, there is no one process that there is nothing that, one size fits all when it comes to digital marketing or, entrepreneurship. So it has to fit your philosophy, but there are some core things that needs to be there. And I always tell them that number one core thing for every entrepreneur is that your product or service has to provide a value that is much bigger than what your client or customer is paying for it. Otherwise, it is not a business. So yeah, I have role models, and it changes. One of my biggest role model is actually my grandfather that I grew up with. So in my day-to-day life, I really copy a lot of the things that he used to do. So it varies. You just learn from people, and you pick up some of the things that stands out, and some of the things it doesn't. Steve Jobs, like I told you, I have a huge admiration for him, but he was a horrible boss. I will never be a boss like him. I believe in treating employees with respect. I understand that people make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, so long they learn and move on, that's the way it works. But you probably know that Steve Jobs would just totally chew you up and spit it out if you made a mistake in his organization. So again, the things that you like, the things that you would say, I would rather pass.
AJ, that thing you said about no one size fits all, that's one thing I've noticed on these interviews that I do with people, because I ask, obviously, a lot of entrepreneurs if a lot of the same questions, and it's just interesting to see how varied the answers are in terms of what one will say, another one will say the opposite of, and yet they've all made that successful journey and had success. So it's absolutely true what you've said there.
100%. As a matter of fact, I'm writing a book for entrepreneurs right now. It's almost done, but I'm kind of sleeping on it so that I can then again read it and see that everything is making sense before it's published. And I that's where I explained to them that, you see, this is how it bifurcates, right? So when I started this journey in the digital marketing, and one of the pieces of digital marketing is website design. And back in 2004, when I started, believe it or not, many businesses didn't think that they needed a website. It's kind of, I just laugh about it now. And at that time, I had two options. One was to do a very custom website, based on their business strategies and based on their goals, and so that it reflects, what they want, what they are all about. And then there was another path was to create a bunch of templates, and they can do it themselves. And so both option was with me. I had a team of web designers I still have in India now on my payroll. So I could have gone in either direction. Now, even though business-wise it looked like it would not be a bad idea to do a template-based thing, and today there are a bunch of template-based people who are very successful, but I chose to go the route that I went, which is a very custom, one business at a time approach, because frankly I enjoy this. Even at that time, my mentors had told me that there is a bigger potential if you charge whatever $10 a month and give them a template website that they can customize. Even some of the VCs that I know, because I used to be a CEO of a VC funded company back in the .com boom. They told me that you can very easily raise money if you want with the second approach. And I looked at it, and I had worked with VC before, and I was not frankly excited to go back into that arena again. So I just chose to stay small, but do what I enjoy more. Now, I would never say that the other option was a bad way to do it. There are very many successful people, and I'm sure that they're helping. lot of businesses, who can get their website for whatever, $10, $15, $20 per month. But that's okay. I mean, I chose and I have no regrets because I wouldn't have enjoyed that, versus what I do, I enjoy. So again, everyone has to find their own path. And that is something that when you deal with wannabe entrepreneurs, I deal with quite a few of them, every month. That's what I try to guide them to and say, hey, don't just say, look what happened to that guy, what he did, so I'm just going to copy that. That is not the way to get into entrepreneurship, because like I told you before, I'm sure that when we talked, it is a very difficult journey being an entrepreneur. So unless you are excited about what you do, you will have a tendency to quit unless you are also enjoying what you're doing. So that's why you have to carve your own path.
Mm-hmm. AJ, what I'd like to do now is talk about the time before you were an entrepreneur.
Sure.
What difficulties did you have to overcome when you started your business?
So the bunch of difficulties, and that's why I'm saying that I wish that I knew what I know now. When I started, I would be in a different position. So that I have been in the corporate marketing all my life, which was with a fairly large budget. I guess the smallest budget that I've worked with is like $10 million per year marketing budget, and then even when I was in .com, we blew through $20 million. We were still acting not like a startup, but more like an established company. And that was a culture, by the way, in the late 90s. I was not for it, but that's how it was. So when I started my own business, my model was very much like the big companies. So my marketing plan, for example, even in terms of my growth plan and everything I had was like as if I'm an established large company. And after I would say few months in there, I realized that that's not going to work. And then I started to think about what I used to think about these people when I was in corporate and these small entrepreneurs who would try to compete with me, and that I'm just going to squash you. And for example, when I was in the restaurant industry, working for a restaurant chain, I will get mom and pop restaurant, one owned by whatever the couple, next to my chain, and then they will start playing, for example, a discounting game. And I used to laugh and say, seriously? I mean, you're going to play discount, and how long can you take the loss? I mean, I'm a big corporation. I can have this restaurant run at a loss for 5 years, and I would not even feel the impact at all at the chain level. So we used to laugh, and we used to just say, okay, I'm just going to squash, this guy. Now, when I became a consultant, when these mom and pop would come to me, and I got in the beginning quite a few because of my experience in the restaurant industry, I'll always tell them, hey, you have to, carve a path. You cannot compete with 800-pound gorilla on the strength. So you have to figure out maybe how can you do speed. I mean, you have to learn, pick up something that will be, very difficult for them to replicate. So that's when I started. So my biggest mistake was that I started thinking like a corporation, okay, and then like I'm an established corporation, because that's the only way I was programmed to think at that time. So then that was a major adjustment to make, getting back to like, okay, I'm a one-man band right now, and what I need to do to get get started. So that was the first thing, and then the second thing, which I think biggest problem that almost every entrepreneur faces, is you start with a vision, but then you have to evolve. So what you think doesn't work, when there are programs that I have launched that I thought, hey, by the end of the year I should have 1,000 customers, and had only 12. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And then I realized that what happened was normal. It was my thinking that was flawed. It was crazy to think that you launch a program, with a tiny company and no budget and everything, and you will have 1,000 customers. So again, you learn to recalibrate, and that's a big difference, because I will tell you that if God had come and said, AJ, you know what, you're launching this program, but I'm telling you, end of the year you'll have 12 customers, I probably wouldn't have launched it. So you make those mistakes in terms of forecasting. You don't, and part of the reason is again coming from a small company. Even when I was in .com, I walked into a company that has 0 sales, and these VCs expected the company to be doing $100 million in sales in 3 years. Now, at that time, because I was in the corporate world, I'm like, okay, with the right budget, I can do it. Today, I'm telling you, even with the right budget, if someone, and I don't care how much money they pay me, if they call me and they said, okay, we need $100 million in sales in 3 years, right now it is 0, I would say it's not possible. You have the exceptions, obviously. You hear about whatever, Facebook getting, 1 million followers in 1 week or whatever, all those things. But those are rare exceptions. That's 0.001% of the business. So we lot of mistakes in the beginning that I made, and but one thing that I did do, luckily, is learn from them and keep on adjusting. So that's why when the entrepreneurs come to me, I always tell them that, yes, I can see that you are taking this path and you think that it will reach there, but don't be surprised that when you start, even the destination you may have to change the destination. Forget about the path. So you have to evolve. Until you have launched the business and you started, you won't know. And that I did not know, frankly, at that point. And I'm glad that I didn't know, because if I knew, who knows, I may not have decided to be an entrepreneur.
Did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
Oh, geez, until I would say 6-7 years down the road, I had doubts that I made a mistake. There are nights that I could not sleep because I'm like, oh, what did I do? It's not working. So yes, it is a very difficult thing, obviously, to again run your own business, and especially a startup, and you don't have like a backup. So all of a sudden, you are used to a lifestyle where you get a decent check. It's not like a check like Richard Branson or something, but you get a decent check at the end of 2 weeks, and you have a fairly decent lifestyle where we used to go on vacations and all those things very easily. So moving from there to all of a sudden you don't know what will be your income this month, and for many months it was negative. There was no income, or income was much lower than my cost of living. So yeah, there were doubts, and I did not stop telling. I was fortunate enough that I had a visible position in corporate world, that all the recruiters were, I would get calls from recruiters all the time. And frankly, until my seventh year, before that, I would just give them some excuse why this job does not suit me. And I will say, but, keep in mind if something more suitable comes up. It was only after like 6-7 years when I started telling them that I'm not going to go back in corporate world, so just take my name out. Tons of doubts. And I don't know who has started a business who would not have doubt. I think that it will be a very dangerous thing if someone started a business and had no doubts ever. I mean, probably that will lead to a failure.
Well, I've had people on here who claim they haven't had any doubts, but it's the no one size fits all, as you said. So
correct.
What mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
The biggest mistake I made that slowed my journey was, again, in the desperation to get any customer, and that's the planning that I should have done in the beginning. So I started taking anyone who walked into the door, okay, when I first started. And then, there are a few things that is very fundamental with my approach to business. The one, and one of them is very high customer service. Number one is, of course, I want to make sure that the customer is getting much higher return on investment that they make. But I'm very big on customer satisfaction also. And what happened is there are not everyone that aligns with your way of thinking. So I signed up many customers who I shouldn't have signed, let me put it this way. Their demands were very different, their expectations were very different, and it was not going to work out. And I did not know that. So for like fourth, fifth year, there was a time when I almost was thinking that I'm just going to give up. I went to work and thinking that I'm just going to go and work on my resume. Every Saturday I come to office to work. And while doing resume, I started to introspect. And I started to realize that, wait a minute, I have much more happy customers than unhappy customers. And then I started to, instead of writing my memo, my resume, I started putting them on a spreadsheet, happy, unhappy, and the features and everything. And all of a sudden, it was almost like, revelation that came. And it's like, geez, I know what my problem is. And the problem was that I had these kind of, the wrong customers, with me. So I just, right there, I went back, I started to create and say, okay, these are the kind of people who are the right customer for me. These are the wrong customers. And these people, the unhappy customers, where I was frankly spending 80% of my time. And that's why I was so miserable, because every day it was like firefighting. You come in and you are just trying to deal with these people and who are unhappy, and you couldn't make them happy. So I came in, and as painful as it was, there were like 4 or 5 clients that I resigned, literally on Monday. There were a couple of them got very defensive and really wanted to stay, and I said, no, we are not the right company for you. And then I became much more selective in terms of who I will get as my new client, even though I will tell you that I was still in this business, in the web business. I was not breaking even. I started breaking even much later. But luckily, I had this other business I had created, which is transcription, that was generating enough money to pay for my household expenses and also plug the gap for Web Team. So that was the biggest change that I made. Is I said, I'm not going to take everyone as my client, and then that things started to get really downhill after that. It was because obviously it's harder to get more clients because now you are picking. It's not like they are just picking, but I'm glad I did that because my retention rate is way through the roof. I think that our retention rate of clients is must be among the highest in the digital marketing arena, especially the ones dealing with smaller businesses, because we retain, the last 3 years probably we have retained 95% of the clients. So that was my biggest thing that slowed me down. And once we have, now it is a steady growth, because like I said, you cannot attract a lot of avatars or the ideal customers. Maybe there is a way to do that. I have not figured it out, very honestly. But it is a constant, steady improvement. Year after year after year, we are in black, and we are growing. So I can now focus on really what else can I do for my existing client to make them, generate more revenue for them. Rather than try to firefight and try to convert my unhappy customers to happy customer, which if you have the wrong kind of customer, it won't happen.
So the moral is the art of doing good business is knowing what bad business is, isn't it?
Correct. And the biggest moral is that when you start your business, you should have a big idea in terms of who your ideal customer is. Now, of course, I have always said it may evolve. you may change based on your experience, but you should have a pretty decent idea of who your ideal customer is when you start, and try to go after those ideal customer, and you will be much more happier. And I think the business, if it is the right business, there will be traction will be much faster.
I think this is a mistake a lot of people make when they first set up a business. They think, well, I need to sell to everybody. And actually,
yes,
what you need to try to do is figure out one sector of the market that you're going to service first and perfect that, and then move to other niches or sectors of the market as you grow your business.
100%. And the funny thing is that I made the mistake when I was in my corporate marketing. I was the biggest proponent of not everyone is my customer, because we were spending at the largest company that I worked, the marketing budget was $100 million, and even then I said not everyone is our customer, so we will really fine tune who we are after and go to the right channel, right TV program, right radio program, right print magazine, so that I'm reaching that particular customer. So it was in my DNA. and what happens that when you start your own business, it is really difficult to turn someone down when you don't have enough work, and someone comes and say, hey, I need this, and you are like, yeah, of course I can do that. So that was probably what happened. I mean, I know that's what happened in my case, but I think that is a mistake. Now when people come in, I tell them that you should prepare, to live without income from your business for much longer time than you think that you need to, if you are going to do everything right and be successful.
So if you knew that not everyone was your customer, and you obviously when you set up your business, you needed any customer you could find, I suppose. Why did you think you compromised that thing you'd already realized?
When you start your own business, there is a little bit of desperation, because remember, when you're starting your own business, and I was taking care of the household. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. I had 2 kids. We had a house making payment on. So it clouds your judgment. Let me put it this way. All these pressures that you have, totally always clouds your judgment. And in my case, it is, I'm the first one to say that it just basically just clouded my judgment, and it just getting this, this new client getting this payment was just irresistible at that time, at the situation that I'm at. And that's what I'm saying. Now I want the entrepreneurs who come to me, I want them to anticipate this need and understand that unless they do something, unless they plan it right up front, they will run into this problem that I ran into.
What are some of the things that you did before you started your business that would be helpful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way? Sure.
So, first thing I will tell you that I had no clue what I want to do. So when all it happened is, I was fired from my job, and I figured that I had enough of corporate, for my life. So interestingly, I had a job offer also. I was fired for a job, and within a week, a competitor contacted me because, I was a fairly well-known in that industry at that time. And I took a vacation. We went to Paris, actually, with my family. And while walking there, I decided that I'm done with corporate world. So I came back. I turned down that job offer, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I started to dig, and I looked at a bunch of stuff, even things that I would have clearly failed, like landscaping business and dog grooming business. And so first I thought I will buy a business. And I looked at everything, and nothing excited me. And then I started to look at, actually I went to my mentor, frankly, and told him that this is what I'm trying to do. And he gave me this idea. He said, okay, what I want you to do is go back, list your skills. Then after that, shadow, just highlight the skills that you are passionate about, that you enjoy doing. Just because you're good at, I'm pretty good at math, I cannot be an engineer. Okay, so because I won't enjoy being an engineer. Let me put it this way. So he said, first list all your skills where you are good at, rate it on the scale of 1 to 10 where you are, and then on the scale of 1 to 10 rate what the passions are. And then I started to realize that all my interest, the passion, is more towards marketing, because I started my career in market research, so I'm very well grounded in stats and all those like big data and all that. I'm very well grounded, and I always had people reporting to me who did those work for me. But I started to realize that the thing that really intrigued me was the strategy. I realized that for the 15 years or so, the thing that I really enjoyed was the strategy piece, the marketing strategy. So that was, to me, is a revelation. It's like, okay, I want to be in the marketing strategy area. So first I thought I will just be a consultant. And I started, so that's how I started, as a consulting business. And I got immediately a couple of projects because, like I said, I had a pretty decent network, being in corporate at a decent level for so long. And then I learned very quickly that I didn't enjoy that. It was like working for a corporation, but now you're working from outside. So I luckily got into a talk to a small business because a friend of mine asked me if I can help him. And I was just totally intrigued by the fact that he had no agenda other than that he wants to create, improve his business. So that's how it evolved. And I said, okay, I want to help the small businesses. Now, the small businesses could not, when I think about small businesses, now they could not pay me the money that big businesses paid, for example, for the consulting. Small businesses don't have $10,000 or $500 an hour that they would pay. So I was discussing this with my mentor again, and he suggested that, for a small business, why don't you find a solution where you can hire people to do it and still be profitable? So that way, now you are creating a business, and that is how the whole thing started. And I wouldn't say it was just he told me, but it just made sense at that point. And that is how, so it just evolved. Again, I started with no idea in terms of what I wanted to do, versus most of the entrepreneurs who come, they have a good idea. They have tried something, or they are good at this thing, and they do it. But for me, it was a little bit different. And so that tells you, it totally evolved, and now I have like 100 people working in my organization.
Ajay, do you still have a mentor?
Yes, of course. Of course, I have mentor and mentors, I would say. I tell everyone, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or you are just a teacher or corporate, you need to have mentors. There are kind of mentors like Richard Branson, in a way, is my mentor on a couple of things, but I don't know him. He has never talked to him. And then there are mentors that you like, you admire, and you admire their wisdom, and you talk to them directly. I was very lucky that I was, of course, a new person from India in 2 years in college, and I was working for a corporation. And the senior vice president of the company, I guess he just saw that, I went there, I was quietly working, and I was working harder than almost everyone. I was the first person to come in, last person to go. And there was my boss left, and I did her job also. And then, after 3-4 months later, they ended up hiring this replacement. And you have to realize the senior vice president was like 8 layers above me. But he was obviously seeing everything. So one of these days when I was working late night, he walked into my office and he started chatting. And he asked me, it's like, I'm curious, why didn't you apply for, this, person, her position? And I'm like, I've been doing everything. So I thought, I'll be considered. And he said, my friend, this is not how it works. So he decided to be my mentor. I mean, next day his secretary called me and said, you are going to be, monthly meeting. He wants to set up monthly lunches. And that's how it started. And then when I moved to another company, and then I'm like, okay, it was so helpful to go to someone that you admire, someone that you trust their judgment, and ask them questions. I mean, he has, even as soon as a few years back, I talked to my mentor about, I have another business, the transcription services business. That is run by, I created that. It's totally online, and it's run by like 3 people. I'm barely involved in that. And it generates a pretty decent business profit. So I was thinking maybe I should sell that business and then invest more in the web team to take it to the next level. And he just happened to be in town, my mentor, and I said, let's go out for lunch, and I shared this with him. And he looked at the whole thing and he said, I wouldn't do it. And his idea was that either you grow it, this business, and sell it at a price so that you are financially independent. Okay, or you just enjoy the cash flow because, and he gave me a very simple math. And in terms of why it doesn't make sense. And I tell you, I came out of the lunch, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sell it until I grow it at least 5 times of the current size. And boy, was I lucky. But I can tell you, I had an offer. If I had sold it in 3 years, the business already generated more profit than the price that I was going to get at that point. So yeah, I mean, having a mentor, what it does, I don't follow blindly. I'm not saying that you should follow blindly, mentor. But if you have people who you respect and who care about you also, the mentors also have to care about you. Then what happens is they bring this point of view that makes you think. I mean, there are many things that my mentors have said that I thought about, and I said, okay, I'm not going to, I ignored it basically. So I'm not saying that every time, it is correct. But then you need mentors. I would say everyone, no matter how old you are, you should have mentors. At some point now, some of the advice I get is from my friends, who are successful in corporation on their own. So technically speaking, you wouldn't say mentor, but they are advisors now.
Can you tell us about some of the misconceptions that business owners and entrepreneurs have about marketing?
So the biggest misconception is, of course, the complexity. Many business owners, they think it is very easy to do. There are people who would even say that, we are just going to hire someone to do it. Now, digital marketing has so many pieces to it that unless you have a team of 5-6 people, you cannot do it. And then the problem with 6 people is that for a small business, they won't be busy. So they don't understand the complexity of it. So that is the big problem. And then the second, I would say, is their expectation in terms of the return. So they expect it to be much quicker, which, with a decent budget, it can happen. But also the return. So if you are spending $5,000, say, on marketing, you cannot expect $5 million return. It just doesn't happen like that. And so when they keep on getting the good return, so suppose your 5,000 is getting you 15,000, and they will say, hey, it's not increasing, but they don't want to increase the budget. So again, not understanding of what it takes. They always think it's much easier than it is. And now when someone comes to me because they are unhappy with their current digital marketing company, and I talk to them and I find out that they have jumped ship. They have changed agencies 5 times in the last 2 years. mostly because they think they were ineffective. Actually, I bail out because I don't think that they understand. Again, I have always said that you focus on the return on investment, and obviously you should be making more money than you are spending. But having said that, you have to be realistic. Couple of $1,000 or $10,000 investment is not going to give you $1 million a month.
How do you manage that expectation then in people?
First thing we do, that's the motto of our corporation, is we always underpromise and we try to over-deliver. So first thing, I want my clients to be totally focused on getting more money than they are spending on marketing. So that's the starting point. That's very easy to gauge and I would say, easy to perform. And after that, I just tell them that, okay, let us keep on, what we are going to do is we'll keep on doing the increasing your revenue with the same budget until we think that we have hit a ceiling, and at that point I'll come back to you and we will suggest you the right budget. So, we have had clients who started with $5,000 budget and are now spending over $100,000 per month. Because, we kept on increasing, and then we would do our analysis. We'll say, the additional budget will give them additional revenue. And until you hit the point of diminishing return, which is what we did in the corporation also. So that's what I am following. But I'm just promising them a small incremental improvement rather than like a massive change. So if someone comes in and says, I have 6 months, if my business doesn't hit this level, I'm going to close, then I'm very reluctant to take that project. I took one because it was a very close friend of mine, and she came, and I was just lucky enough that we managed to turn it around in 6 months within the budget. But I am very I'm very reluctant to take those projects.
Ajay, what I'd like to do now is just talk about the entrepreneurial journey a bit more with you. Mm-hmm. Do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
100%. You have, I'd say the foundation of your business is why you are in business for. And I always try to explain that if you say, I'm starting my business to make money, that's a wrong answer. That the chances are that if you want to be, unless you are creating a value, for your customers, for the society, whatever, you're not going to survive very long. So knowing why you are in business, what value you are creating for your customer, and really sticking to it and make sure that you deliver what you are promising, that is the most important piece for any entrepreneur when he or she is starting a business.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
Yes, definitely. I would now, new entrepreneur, I'll say you should really think through who you want your ideal customer to be. Don't make the mistake I made of taking every customer and then spending 4 years scrambling and struggling before identifying that. So that's the first thing that you should do it. Now, you may not be 100% accurate. You may need to pivot a little bit and change it. But go in very clear in your mind who your ideal customer is. So that and then once you do that, actually, the other thing that took me very long is to come up with a marketing program that will consistently generate business for me. If you know your ideal customer, it is easier to do that because then you can launch your marketing program around reaching those ideal customers rather than for like what I did was talking in general about digital marketing and we help you increase your sales and all that. So if you know your ideal customer, you will also know what marketing message will work, and you will also know where you find them. So it makes life a whole lot easier if you know going into your business who your ideal customer is going to be. And that would have really, I can tell you that in the beginning it slowed me so much that I would be in a whole different league if I knew this, what I'm telling you, when I started.
How much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
Again, you have to feel good about what you're doing, right? I mean, entrepreneurship takes a lot of your time. You will be spending most of your, wake-up hours, and you will also dream some when you're sleeping on this thing. So it's a very difficult journey. It is so you better enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't feel good about what you do, if you don't feel excited every morning when you get up to come to work, this is not for entrepreneur, is not for you. So yes, you have to feel good about what you're doing, and that's why I'm saying if you have a purpose, the business has a purpose. It makes a lot of sense. You will feel excited about it. I mean, if I was in the business, for example, of trying to figure out how to get a little bit of money from the unfortunate, I don't know. I don't even see which unfortunately there are a lot of businesses doing that. I wouldn't have any idea how to be excited every morning when I'm coming to work. I mean, right now, it's a whole different level of excitement because I am doing something that is valuable for my client.
Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not, and many people say the only constant is change. AJ,
Correct.
How do you try to keep up with change?
Well, what is interesting is as it is, the change is much faster in business world today than it used to be, say, even 20 years back, 25 years back, when I started first my career. But in the area that I am in, which is digital marketing, change is amazing, constant. It's almost like every day, every week, something is changing. So you have to accept that is part of the life, and hopefully, like me, you enjoy it. So I love it that it keeps us on our toes. And to be very honest, now things have become so complex and changing so quickly that many of my competitors have kind of gone by the wayside. They couldn't keep up with it. So yeah, the change is going to be constant. It will be, the pace of change is becoming faster. That is the big thing. Like you said, it's correct. It has always been true that the change is given, but the pace of change is now really fast because customers have access about your information. I mean, it's not like they just walk into the store and they talk to you and then they form an opinion. These days, they just go on the web and they already know what people are talking about you, right? So and those things change every day. So if I'm a business owner, you have to be on your toes. You have to make sure that your customers are happy. They are saying nice things about you. If someone says anything not nice, you have to, jump very quickly instead of, who cares? It's just one customer. You can go. Now this one customer can create a lot of ruckus. So a lot of it's kind of exciting. It is forcing businesses to do a better job, and I think that in the big scheme of things, everyone is a winner.
I'm fascinated with what you do because you don't. You said earlier on that you don't exchange your time for money in what you do. So obviously, I can see that with your marketing business that you've got people running the business for you. When it comes to change in that business, how do you make sure that you keep up with the change and that the people that you employ keep up with the change? Because obviously Facebook's changing over time, Google's
Correct.
constantly updating their algorithms and things, and you need to make sure that you're not using outdated methods, because obviously the danger of that is that if you were, then all of a sudden your customers wouldn't be getting the results and that would affect your business. So how do you motivate your employees to keep at the forefront, on the front of the wave of change as much as they can?
I don't think that you can motivate your employees to do it. You have to create a process, for it. So, for example, in my company, one of the things that I do is first thing, I have a couple of employees. All they do is their job is to keep on looking for, so they are scouring all the digital marketing related. You can think of it the blogs and also forums to kind of stay on top with what is the latest. Because, of course, Facebook or Google and all those, they don't announce that, hey, this is what we are changing, this is how it will impact you. So first thing, we are always trying to keep up with what is happening. So I have a couple of people who are just looking at it all the time. That's their job. And then we attend every major conferences, you can see, so that we have a pulse of the industry. And then we have created a process in place. I'll give you a very quick example. In 2011, we went, one of my staff went to attend this conference, SMX, which is, the Search Marketing Expo conference. And she heard this idea about responsive website. And we also designed website for our client, which was, we were doing at that time, we were creating M.dot site, to make it mobile friendly. So they said, this whole new protocol that Google is going to be using. And they had announced that soon Bing and Google, within the next year or so, will expect this to be a standard format. So with that information, what I had to do is I have a development team. So they jumped into, they were asked to do the R&D, figure out what needs to be done, get the right training. And it took us like a couple of months. I said, okay, first thing first, just change my website into responsive so that I can tell people what it is. And then we already had the expertise by early 2012. And I tell you, at that time when we started telling people that they should have a responsive website, even to my existing clients who we had built site for, the vast majority had never even heard of what it is. So we created a whole, think of it as a story where we shared with them where the trend is going, how many people are searching on the smartphone. And of course, in those days, I used to tell them by 2015, majority of the surfing will be happening on smartphone, which already happened last year, and created this sense of urgency. So when we were already telling businesses they should have responsive and creating sites for them when, to be very honest, 95% of my competitors had not even heard of what is responsive. So you have to be on top of it. You have, of course, there are a lot of the new trends that come in, and you have to have the wisdom to look at that and say which is fad and what is trend. And I am coming from a traditional marketing. I'm a skeptical type, but there are some things that makes totally sense. I mean, when you know that all the projection of smartphone where it is going. And I could see that my kids, it looks like everything that they were doing is a smartphone anyway. So the writing was on the wall. And so you have to, so that is the part of the leadership. The leader, as a leader, you have to make sure that you can see what the trends are, and then you create a process in your company to keep up with that. So even for the search marketing, for example, Google is changing algorithm. They are Penguin and Panda and all those things. Facebook is making this change and that. So we have a group of team which says, hey, this is what is happening. And then we have an implementation team that says, how does it impact? And I get very involved there. So it's, okay, if this new thing happens, if this trend happens real, then it turns out to be real, then how does it impact the business? How does it impact our customers? And then we make the judgment and whether we need to jump and make the adjustment or wait for this thing to solidify. So you have to have a culture within the company, but more important, you have to have a process for that. If you expect your employees to keep up with what is happening and suggest changes, unfortunately, you will be disappointed.
What is your favorite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
Sure. So, the one book that I tell, and I do get new entrepreneurs contact me, for website and all that very often. And I tell them that they should read a book. It's not like a a huge bestseller that you find in the market. The book is called Ready, Fire, Aim. And it's a book by this guy. His name is Masterton. I don't even know if it's his real name or not. But he gives a very simple step-by-step process for businesses of different sizes. So when you are starting up, what's the most important thing you should do? If you are breaking even, what you do to become profitable? If you are profitable, then what you do to scale? So it's a very good book where what it does the best for me is it helps you focus on the right thing given your situation, rather than like I've always laughed when I get someone who has an idea, just a business idea, and wants to talk to me about logo design. And I'm like, you're way ahead. You don't worry about logo. You go and figure out if your business is right. So I suggest that book. And then the other book that made a pretty decent impact on me, which is more, I don't know if it's motivational, but the couple of books I would suggest. One is a book called Good to Great. This was, it talks about the companies what companies did to become great, and many of the lessons entrepreneurs can use it. And then the other book I always suggest is The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. It really tells you, it does a pretty decent job of researching and saying what are the traits you need to have to be successful. So top of my head, these three books I will suggest to everyone. But if you have to just read one book, if you have time for one book only, I would say read Ready, Fire, Aim.
Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you are at the gym. We have a special offer for you of a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you've not already signed up, then you will qualify. AJ, what I'd like to do with you now is just speculate about the future a little bit. Mm-hmm. What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
It's this is really interesting. I mean, the idea always is we have a marketing process. We have always bootstrapped it, so I've never gone and gotten any investment. So obviously, if there was my marketing program, if there was a more funding, it would help. But I'm not going to do that. So it's a moot point. I'm not going to take investors. The one thing that which I'm doing, by the way, is we have realized that online reputation is absolutely critical for businesses to succeed. Either professional or business, almost like everyone who is dealing in the business world, either as a professional or you are a business. So you have to have a great online reputation, and we created a platform last year. So we had created some manual processes for our clients, so that they can ongoing basis they can keep on building online business. And then last year, I invested some money to really convert that into a software as a service program, so any business can sign up, and for a small fee, create a process so that they start to build online reputation, which is very difficult for small businesses to build. So I did that, and I launched it with my clients. Right now, I don't know, about 50 to 75 people are using it already, businesses. And I plan to launch it in June. Now, as you know, software as a service is a very profitable business, because basically people are paying you a subscription, and most of the work is already done, so it doesn't cost you any additional fee. So that's where if I had more resources, I would spend on marketing, because I know that it will not fail. So it's just a matter of how do I ramp up the number of users there. We have already tested, like I said, we launched it in January. We have already tested it with about 50, the platform with about 50 businesses. So now we are ramping it up and creating like a website around it and creating the features so that anyone can sign up and start to use it. So that I would put a lot of effort in there right now in marketing that, because it's needed, badly needed, and it's created really with a small business in mind. And by the way, it's a platform that Neil, you may want to check it out. It's called Repugen, Repugen, and so we have created like Repugen.com, and now there is just a page to contact, but we are, as we talk, we are working on other features so that I can launch it as software as a service.
What skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
This the Repugen can double my business. Literally, I think that it will double my business anyway, and by around this time next year, because we have incorporated that into our new proposals for marketing, and no one else has it. I mean, we have filed for patent also, and that doesn't mean that someone cannot get a way around it, but it's a patented technology. So as it is giving us a huge competitive advantage in our business to double it. But really, to double the business, all you have to do is make sure that your customer gets benefit and take out some of the problems. And I will tell you that this was a big problem for my customers. In spite of the efforts, the small businesses, they spend so much of their time just running the business to focus and trying to contact customers and making sure that they get good reviews and everything was much more difficult than you would imagine. So this, now that we have added this to any new customer that we sign up, we hope to double the business as is.
But what about for you? What skill would help you double the business from where you are right now? The scale, we would need to get, I would say, 25 more clients to double the business. Now, what Repugen is doing, as we launch it as a software as a service, then there will be a lot of businesses, I'm hoping, who will come and use it, like, hopefully thousands, because it is inexpensive and this is something that everyone needs it, and it makes the whole real pain in the neck process totally automated so that they don't even have to think about the businesses. And I am, this is, of course, is our hope that we will create some packages like, analysis and all that for people who sign up for Repugen, so that hopefully we can sign them up as our digital marketing agency also. In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
I would just, simple thing, I would like them to say that I immensely help them build their business, increase their client base and their sales. That's what I'm looking, trying to help them. And then obviously this Repugen also helps them gauge customer satisfaction. So that will, again, you need that gauge to be able to make the adjustments so that you can increase sales. So that's my company's point. Total focus is, how do I increase the sales of our customers, and how do I improve their online reputation and kind of make them more of a influencer in their own business world. And that's what I want them to say.
We are now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. AJ, what is your favorite quote and how have you applied it? The favorite quote, and I'm paraphrasing rather than giving you the exact one, is if
someone has not listened to Steve Jobs' convocation speech at Stanford, I suggest that you should Google and watch it. So he talks about, you connect the dots. When you look back and you connect all the dots, everything makes sense. Where you have reached and what you did makes a lot of sense. But so he says, what you have to do is think the right things that you want to do the right things, and don't worry too much. The dots will connect, and you cannot see going forward. So all you have to do is do the right thing with the right goal, and dots will connect. And I think that is really a very inspiring thing. When I heard that, I had my hair stood up on my hand. Mm-hmm. And so that was my favorite quote. Obviously, later on when I was reading Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, one of the book I told you, he also talks a lot about connecting the dots. But yeah, you have to do the right, so long you have the right goal in your mind, something that is going to do good for other people, not just for you, some of it just fall in place and you do fine.
Do you have any favorite online resources that you can share with us?
Yes, one online resource that for entrepreneurs, especially in business owners, I always tell them, and it's a funny kind of name, it's called punkspider.org. Now, this is an amazing website, by the way, when you go there. So what it does, it will check your site, and it will tell you if your site has any kind of vulnerability in terms of for the cyber hackers. And it is so strong that it's used, my understanding is, even by the government. And actually, when you go to the site, it will tell you that you are promising that you are not going to use it to find other people's site weaknesses to go and hack it. So it is that powerful, and I'm pretty sure that the government is checking everyone that goes there to check their site. So it's a great resource for businesses because the cybersecurity is so important. You want to make sure that your website, your database within the website, all the information is very secure. So Punk Spider is a great resource that you can go. It's free, and you can see how it works. You can see if there is any kind of vulnerability you have.
What is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
Is make sure that you like what you're doing, because this is going to be a very long and difficult journey. So you have to enjoy what you're doing. The only way to succeed is being persistent, and you will not be able to stick to it, persist unless you're enjoying what you're doing. So persistence is the most important attribute of successful businesses, but you will not be persistent unless you enjoy what you're doing.
Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of AJ's favourite resource or his favourite books, then you can find the links on AJ's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for AJ or Ajay Prasad in the search box. AJ, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
No, I would just say that my business is totally focused on helping other businesses, and if anyone has any advice to that, I am game. If there's something that I'm missing, so I encourage people to go to my website, gmrwebteam.com, and anything else that I can do. I'm very curious. I'm always trying to improve my business. So any suggestion from any of your listener will be very appreciated.
Thank you for that. AJ, it's been an honor having you on here today. You've really shared a great perspective on being an entrepreneur from your perspective in terms of the businesses that you run, and you've given us some great advice and information and insight, which is going to be helpful for many people listening. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. It was my pleasure. I had a good time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.